use tear gas and rubber bullets. And it was used by our government in Ireland, and we have always said, and we say again, it must never ever be used. Tear gas and rubber bullets are inhumane weapons. They should be banned. They should never be used against peaceful protesters, protesters for democracy and human rights, such as these young protesters here in Hong Kong. It is a violation of their human rights, and it is very, very dangerous to use CS gas, tear gas, rubber bullets. They should be banned.
What message do you want to What message do you want to tell young people? And the second question is, do you think the protester is peaceful when the police is using the tear gas or
the vast majority of all the protesters who've come here have been completely non-violent, completely peaceful. Young and old, they've worked together peacefully and non-violently for their human rights and democracy. When the police use violence, they are actually trying to make the protesters become violent. And I am proud of the Hong Kong people that have, and especially the students that have refused to become violent. The biggest power in this world is the power of non-violence. But we also need the legislators and elected representatives to themselves step in and say, you must not use rubber bullets, you must not use tear gas. This is against the safety and the security and the human rights of these peaceful protesters.
Dr. Johnson, why you come here and to support, deliver the speech to the protesters, and what do you think about the government responses to the using the tear gas, like they call the protesters a riot?
There was no riot. There was a peaceful protest to prevent an abusive law. And the protesters explained this very clearly. It is because these are peaceful protesters for human rights and for democracy that I and my friends came here to give you our support. This is a very special, important moment in Hong Kong's history. The British colonials, we failed the people of Hong Kong, but at least I, as a British citizen, can come here to Hong Kong and support these peaceful protests for democracy and human rights, and also for the rule of law here in Hong Kong. These are so important, and it breaks my heart when the police use violent means like rubber bullets and tear gas. These weapons actually can kill people. Maybe they're not intended to, but if you fire rubber bullets at people's heads or at people who are already vulnerable, if you fire tear gas when people have asthma or have some breathing problems already, and many of us do, I have asthma, you can kill people with these weapons. They are inhumane. They should be banned. They should never, ever be used against peaceful protesters. Never.
So tomorrow is the G20 summit, and what do you want to say to the world leaders?
I think the people of Hong Kong have already said their messages to the world leaders. They need the world leaders to stand up for the rights of Hong Kong to have democracy and the rule of law, and to be able to take these kinds of peaceful protests for rights, to defend the democracy of the system that you have. And this cannot and should not be taken away by any governments.
Thank you.
I would like to know
how can the Hong Kong people to dissolve the hatred if we believe that the government or maybe the opponents are evil? And also any guidance you can give to the Hong Kong people that what they can do next?
You know, the government and the opponents are not evil. Maybe misguided, maybe they have a vested interest in the wrong kinds of law and the wrong kinds of power. But they are not evil, and this is why it is important to talk about building bridges, because you need to build bridges with those in the government and the establishment who actually want to support more democracy and more human rights and the rule of law. You have many allies if you build bridges, but if you make the idea of enemies is the wrong way to think about it, because it makes then people become binary opposites. We are not. We are all human beings, but some have chosen to put certain kinds of power and certain kinds of laws that would oppress the people and take away rights. So it is necessary to oppose those actions, but don't turn the people who make those actions into enemies. In non-violence, we don't have to do that. We have to communicate with them.
All the citizens waiting here for a long time, all day. It is possible that Teresa Zhang Yuhua to support us.
Sorry, I can't.
All the citizens wait here for a long time. It is possible Teresa Zhang Yuhua come here to listen to us and face to us.
Are you asking about the British government coming?
No, the Hong Kong government.
Oh, the Hong Kong government. Sorry, I thought you said Theresa May. I was going to say I have no. I think the government should. I think Carrie Lam should come here and speak to you herself. And she should be prepared to explain what she thinks that legislation is doing. But most importantly, she should listen to all of you about why you oppose this extradition legislation. She should listen to you. She should not turn you into the enemy either. She should listen and learn, and then work with all of you and also all the other representatives and change the situation so that all of you can go home, can get on with your studies, knowing that these abusive laws will not be enacted.
Thank you very much.